Hello there. Nigeria's once ruling People's Democratic Party, the PDP, has continued to grapple with intense antagonism following a Court of Appeal verdict which nullified the Ibadan Convention. While some PDP leaders view the verdict as an opportunity for reconciliation, deep-seated factions remain a significant barrier to rebuilding the party ahead of the 2027 general elections. The appellate court upheld a lower court judgment voiding the election of Kabiru Turaki-led National Working Committee at the Ibadan Convention and affirmed the caretaker committee backed by the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike pending a valid convention. But the party remains split between Wike's faction and a rival bloc supported by the two PDP remaining governors, Sheyi Makinde of Oyo State and Bala Muhammad of Bauchi State, who are yet to defect to the APC. The ruling party as conflicting meetings are being held by calls for unity. Yet, members of the party, such as Bengal Hashim, urging PDP members to abandon egos and program. Member join me. Tonight, I am being joined by the National Publicity Secretary of the Turaki-led faction, Ini Obong, joins me now in the studio. Many thanks for joining the program.
Good evening, glad to be here.
I would like to start by saying that your party, the PDP, all is not well with it. And Nigerians are eagerly waiting to know what next step, the party is going to take. So, let me start off by saying, you're already aware, I'm sure you watched yesterday's edition where your brother, I would rather call it that way, because actually, after all, Judge Turner called you his brother.
Yeah, George is my friend and comrade.
He was here and he said some things about
absolutely. The passage of time would change the disposition.
Okay,
I wish I was here yesterday.
It would have been okay, but just hold on. We'll come back to
But just to
discussion.
correct something in the intro, I'll forward the Court of Appeal judgment to you.
Okay.
Never did it affirm any caretaker. In fact, there's no mention of the word caretaker in the total.
We have a whole 1 hour to discuss all of that,
Yes.
not to worry. We'll go on a short break now. We'll take this report and then we'll come back for discussions.
He disagrees with the judgment of the Court of Appeal, which pronounced an invalidation of the November 15th to 16th, 2025 National Convention that produced the Kabiru Tanimu Turaki-led National Working Committee of our party. The BOT is awaiting the advice of our lawyers on the way forward in this regard. The BOT is disturbed by the avoidable internal leadership disputes and wranglings leading to damaging litigations with consequential detrimental effect on the unity and smooth running of the PDP as the major opposition party in the country. The board, however, acknowledges and resolved to explore the window provided by the Court of Appeal, Ibadan Division, for reconciliation within the party. The BOT is conscious of the interests and aspiration of our members who are desirous of contesting various positions in the 2027 general elections. Conscious of the onus of the BOT as the conscience and third highest leadership organ of the party, the board is resolved to take immediate steps to reconcile all stakeholders, put an end to all disputes, and restore the party to good political health, particularly to enable the PDP field candidates in the 2027 general elections. The BOT constitutes a special committee to immediately interface with the legal teams and any other stakeholders to foster reconciliation within the party. The board acknowledges the support, loyalty, and solidarity of Nigerians towards the PDP as further evidenced in the ongoing nationwide e-registration of members. Reports from the field indicate daily registration of members in their millions. The unprecedented surge to our party, despite the challenges, underscores the standing of the PDP as the party of choice for majority of Nigerians ahead of the 2027 general elections. The BOT therefore calls on all leaders and members of our party to jettison all personal and group interests and come together as one family in the overall interest of our party and the well-being of millions of Nigerians whose hope are anchored on the PDP.
All right, welcome back. Former Senate President Adolphus Wagbara and Chairman, Board of Trustees of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP. Before we go on, Ini, I would like to ask you, a few things from what Chairman BOT said. What were the key, takeaways from that meeting where this address was given?
Well, the first thing was the underpinning philosophy that led to that was all over the room. It was the oxygen in the room. They need to ensure that the PDP is saved from the claws of impending damage. The second was to ensure that the interest of the millions of Nigerians who are interested in running for office, through the platform of the PDP is saved. At that meeting, you had members of the National Assembly who are members of the PDP there, both Senator Abba Moro, you have Fred Agbedi, you had Honorable J.C. Ali. And so the call was, we have come to this point. The Electoral Act is in operation. Yes, we intend to challenge some parts of it, but as of this moment, how do we prepare this party? And look at the fact that in 3 days of opening up registration, which people had to interface with their ward chairman, more than 1-point-something million people had registered. Just 3 days, in 3 days.
In spite of this.
Yeah, in spite of this. In spite of this. And some people are even defecting from other parties to the PDP in many places, in spite of this. So we needed to put whatever anger was there, whether right or wrong, aside and begin to see the interest of these people. Most of the people who will use this party, who intend to use this party to contest election, may not know us, may not come to Abuja, but they are there in Katsina, they are there in Taraba, they are there in Akwa Ibom, they are there everywhere. And they are hoping that this group of elders who are distinguished, before you get to the BOT, you must have been a distinguished Nigerian who has contributed to the growth of the party. People like Baba Jang were there, people like Dr. Muazu Babangida Aliyu were there, people like Professor Jerry Ghana, Iyo Maneni, Inna Chiroma. I mean, it was usually a constellation of human galaxies. So at that point, they had to say, so what is there? And whilst we were at that meeting, the report of the Court of Appeal, not a judgment, not even a ruling per se, well, an order of the Court of Appeal came saying that the court has adjourned sine die and has asked that parties should reconcile. And when you have that from a court of appeal, in the instance that we are, you need to give a second thought to it. So you imagine how I'm sitting here and you're insisting on what is right or wrong, and someone is dying. And someone says, look, my political life, I'm suffering from asphyxiation. I'm losing oxygen. And I'm arguing with you whether the person is lying right or left. No, we need to save that person. And so that was the philosophical underpinning that grounded that meeting. And so everyone could now come together to agree on some things.
All right. Something just, struck me the moment I heard about this meeting, and I knew that the BOT was going to meet and, have the discussion and all of that. It got me thinking. Here is Chairman of the BOT, former Senate President Adolphus Wagbara, talking very nicely and solemnly in the interest of the party. Beautiful. But where have the BOT been? Things have almost spiraled out of control, and look where the PDP is now. Why did they not intervene in this manner up until this moment? Look what is happening now. It's good they've intervened now, but it could have been prevented.
No, you see, time is a key determinant in everything. This program runs on time. No matter how much people love it, if you bring it up earlier or later, you will lose the people who should watch. So there is time for everything. There was a time,
in as much as there is
just
time.
a while. They had tried at different instances to intervene. But you know that there are times when if you just finish eating and you think you have a lot of muscle and someone is telling you don't fight, you think that's the best time to fight. But by the time you have fought and you are exasperated and you see that this fight is still far from ending, you begin to know that if someone says don't fight, you should understand. I mean, clearly, there was no need to go to court ab initio. The processes of arbitration that are the processes of peace building, peace maintenance, and arbitration in the party were neither consulted, let alone exhausted. But people just woke up and headed to court. Well, now that belongs to the past. Today, those who went to court have also seen that the final solution does not lie in the court, which is why everyone is saying, can we discuss? And which is why the BOT is saying, as a result of that, the National Secretary, Ambassador Taufik Arakbaja, has directed that we, through the National Chairman through the National Secretary has directed that we postpone indefinitely the NEC that we're supposed to have and the National Caucus. I mean, so that it can show what we call a law, uberima fide, a show of good faith towards the reconciliation process. You've also heard people on the other side advocating. Remember the out-of-studio discussion yesterday with George Tona saying, please don't go. I mean, so we're not in a fratricidal war. We are not in a war that must end in a zero-sum game, no. If people have now realized that this approach, the judicialization of politics, ought not to have been, which is why I'm excited with some parts of the Electoral Act 2026. There was no need for the judicialization of political issues. These things are things we could have judged, because when you don't allow us to judge, we war. But at the end of war, we will judge. So why the war before the judge? I mean, all of this, the people went to court to say, oh, you didn't do primaries in this. I mean, they knew the truth. They knew that congresses were conducted in many of those states. And they knew why those congresses, the results of which were kept. And for now, because we are now trying to put building blocks to peace, would allow some of the things to lie. But you know that there are many principles of reconciliation, one of which is truth and reconciliation. Reconciliation found on truth. So when the foundation becomes truth, which is why few people will be set up, to engage with the people on the other end. So that first we must say the truth, because when you know the truth will set you free. We must say the truth of how we got here. We must say the truth of the said and unsaid things that led us here. We must analyze the tendencies that birthed the circumstances that we found ourselves.
In going through this process of reconciliation now, which is quite imminent and which I believe everybody welcomes. We'll talk about how everybody will welcome it later, but I just needed to chip that in. Now, in the process, what would your relationship with the Wike faction committee, be like as you go through this process? Because, nerves are still frail and there is still some level of animosity. Good enough they have not spiraled out of control to the, an ugly, extent yet. But how would you relate with them as we move along?
Relationship is a function of facts. It's not a function of law. That is why there is no law that stipulates how siblings should relate or how spouses should relate. They simply say, for example, if we are biological brothers, the world expects that we should show love. Yes, I mean, but the degree to that, the degree of the exhibition of love, tolerance, care, cannot be legislated upon. You see, so it is a function of facts. And so, which is why I'm saying that when reconciliation is found on truth, when it is found on principle, and so what are the key principles we are talking about? That the People's Democratic Party, as currently in existence, has found itself as an opposition party. And the People's Democratic Party post-reconciliation must be an opposition party simpliciter, not an appendage of the ruling party, not a substratum of the ruling party or any other party. It must, for all intent and purposes, remain what circumstances and what human and divine circumstances have placed us as an opposition party. When we become the party in government, we must also act like the party in government. So, you know, we are playing on a field. The field is called democratization. The field which is a journey towards democracy as an ideal. So when in that journey, there are rules and regulations. If you're a party in government, there are things you ought to do. If you're a party in the opposition, there are things you ought to do. Okay. So we must take on the characteristics of an opposition party along this journey.
Before today, you know, that's after the appeal court ruling of Monday, I understand that your faction, even though sometimes you people don't like being called factions, but at least for the purpose of understanding and for, you know, clarity, you know, now, you were planning on the next step, which could have also included, you know, heading to the, you know, Supreme Court and all of that. But what would it have been like? What other options were on the table?
As at Monday, I had already issued a statement which conveyed the instructions to our lawyers to head to the Supreme Court. But filing a notice of appeal and filing the contiguous motions and applications do not prevent reconciliation. As of Monday.
Okay.
That instruction had been given.
The instruction for reconciliation had been given?
No, the instruction to approach the Supreme Court.
To take the next step,
Immediately we concluded that. You see, as a lawyer, when you go to court, on the day a judgment is to be given, I mean, I can share this, it's a trick that all...
Okay.
It's not even a trick, it's a process that all lawyers know. You go there with a motion, a notice of appeal, with an omnibus ground.
Because you already know there's going to be a judgment.
Yes, because the judgment could go that way or the other way. So if you're a modern-day lawyer who has, who carries and can operate a laptop at the speed of light, and you carry your mobile printer, which doesn't need electricity. So it means as my Lord is delivering the judgment, your laptop is open, you're typing some grounds of appeal, do you understand, with the omnibus ground, and you print it and you file immediately. Do you understand? Because the filing of that notice of appeal becomes, at least for the time being, a temporary stay of execution. You file the notice of appeal, you file an application, a motion for a stay of execution, and other concomitant applications. And those are things we do as a matter of practice if you have the permission and authorization of the party to do so. And in this instance, the national chairman had directed that I issue a statement to that effect and had conveyed that to the lawyers already. But by the time we got to Tuesday, you know, a lot of people were talking, senior citizens were calling in, people who were going for election, Forum of State Chairmen were talking. I mean, and the national chairman is a gentleman who is not fixated on nomenclature and position. And he simply said, okay, so let's have an expanded BOT meeting, let's table this. The BOT meeting started yesterday and eventually ended today. And whilst we are at it, the advisory, which is an order of courts now, from Ibadan came. And so the BOT sat and said, look, human beings have spoken. Even the court has spoken. There are political approaches, there are legal approaches, there are religious approaches, there are emotional approaches, there are social approaches. All of this, we can attain an equifinality by using different routes, but arriving at one conclusion, which is the rescue of the soul of the party, the strengthening of the party as an opposition party, which must be on the ballot in 2027, not just to contest, but to contest and win. You know, there are different, that is why when you journalists do analysis, you say contenders and pretenders. So we are ensuring, the decision taken today is to ensure that you have contenders, not pretenders, because eventually contenders, like we did in 2023 in Plateau, contenders would eventually most likely become winners, you know, but pretenders just pretend through the process.
All right. Before today, even anyway, the FCT Minister, Jason Wike, also did say that, well, some persons called it a warning, but whatever it was intended for a specific purpose. He did say that going to the Supreme Court will not augur well for the party, that it may finally tear the party apart and what have you. Does it mean that he also had a premonition or the intent of reconciliation even before now or something?
No, so you take his word for what he said, and you would agree with me that that was not his usual disposition. And so it means that with the passage of time, people are beginning to see things differently. So if he is opposed to people going to the Supreme Court, but he had supported people going to the High Court. So now the question is, when you do an analysis of cause effects, when you do an analysis of stats and continuity, how do you reconcile the fact that you started an action, but you're trying to stop the continuity? But I mean, we're not looking at that, because at this point, I mean, if I cannot, I come from Akwa Ibom State, and I have many young people who want to run for House of Assembly, people who want to run for Senate, for House of Reps, for the governorship of Akwa Ibom, and they are representative on the party.
Yes.
And
they're looking up to you.
I mean, that is it. So that alone becomes a sobering fact that you begin to say, okay, yes, I may not agree because this gentleman started this thing here. But, well, because of supervening factors, we can attempt a reconciliation here. And again, a reconciliation must be on principles and truth, and which is why, you know, that you've started a reconciliation does not mean the reconciliation will end well. That's the truth. There are two ways reconciliations end.
But are you hopeful?
We are showing good faith already. We have stopped meetings we were to hold. We are de-escalating, which is why, if you remember my encounter with George Turner yesterday, you'll be thinking it's a different me today. Because we must give peace a chance. And that is what we are saying now. We must listen to our people. You see, leadership is painful enough that most times it's not about what you want or what you feel. It's about the larger interests of the people you lead. And so if you do not listen to the appeal, I mean, there are things that you would have to do. And if your interest is divergent with that of those you lead, and it pains you that it affects the core, then you resign. But immediately you keep staying there, because we stayed. It is delegatus non potest delegare. We are delegates of power. You understand? And in some instances, you cannot further sub-delegate. So as delegates of power, you must listen to the delegator.
Do you have any idea?
And in this instance, when we started this fight, the delegator said forth. The delegator said to us, go ahead, fight this fight. It is a good fight. We kept fighting. And they came up again. At this point, we went to the Court of Appeal. They stood with us and said, go ahead and fight. And we fought.
Do you have any idea
but now the delegators have said...
how your brothers on the other side, how they have taken this advisory that just came?
Well, you heard one of them yesterday. You've heard the FCT minister. You've heard Samanyawu. I mean, everyone, because of time. You see, that is why, and incidentally, my name is Time. You know,
that's what it means.
That's what it means.
Interesting.
So, time has a way of creating priority out of what wasn't before. So, immediately time sets in, it can create what was not priority to become priority. That same time can change what was priority to become normal. So, at every time, time determines your approach to things. And so that is why in the Bible they say that a particular set of people understood the signs of time, and it was counted for them.
The sons of Issachar.
Yeah. So you need to understand that this concept of time has made it that everyone now, because I mean, if we do not change the approach, as it were, it will lead to mutually assured destruction.
You mentioned how that, you know, you talked about your e-registration and the influx of people, you know, decamping and joining your party. But you see, it's sort of at a very sharp variance with what many people see happening in the recent past. Just recently, you lost another governor to the APC. As it stands now, you have just 2 governors? How do you reconcile that with the people that you say are decamping into your party? You know, when you talk about the weight, you know, you have heavyweight politicians and you have ordinary politicians. You understand this well. So does that, you know, shake any ground in terms of what you're really expecting, what you're looking for?
Who makes the heavyweight politician?
The governors did make your numbers.
Just hold on. You know, I've just switched now. I'm now the interviewer and you're the guest.
I will not allow that.
No, I'm asking you, who makes the heavyweight politician?
I will need you to answer that because it's your party. Because
so it's like you know where the answer is. The people.
You tell me.
The people, those people you call ordinary. Without them, it's just like talking about a brigadier general. He's nothing without his troops. It's just the rank and the knowledge. But he can be overrun with 3 people. What makes a brigadier general? What makes the CDS? What makes the QAS? What makes the chief of Navy Staff? It's the troops. Those are his buffer. Every big politician is made by the people you call ordinary. And the day the ordinary people congregate elsewhere, that big politician is demystified completely. And so what we are doing now is that, yes, there's an exodus of big politicians, which we call the qualitative voices. But there is also the presence of the quantitative voices. And so what we are saying, in essence, is that we are balancing these voices because we know that the people, the factory where qualitative voices are made are the quantitative voices. And we have found ourselves here because we over-relied on qualitative voices. The crisis that we have found ourselves, the crisis that led to where we are, were majorly caused by the qualitative voices. With due respect to them, it was their interest. But the quantitative voices are there. You don't see the dashboard at the end, but I see it. And I'm telling you the number of people. The same thing we told you about what will happen in the FCT. And I'm sure that you, like most people, were shocked about the outcome because you thought that, oh, they couldn't do anything. So if you can imagine what would have happened if the other people didn't step down, if they didn't step down in Amak, if they didn't step down in Buhari, you could have imagined what would have happened. You can imagine what would have happened if the election was a lot more transparent in Kuje. I mean, so what we are saying is that do not try the power of the quantitative voices. Immediately they congregate and they have leadership, which is what we are doing now. We're offering leadership to the quantitative voices. And I can assure you that in the next election cycle, in the next production cycle, qualitative voices will be created by the quantitative voices.
One last question before we wrap it up on this segment. Are you worried that your remaining 2 governors may jump ship and join the ruling APC as well?
Well, we had a meeting yesterday, and like today, and they have said, you see, I keep quoting Shakespeare, that there is no art or science that deciphers the mind's construction on the face. But these 2 gentlemen who have been with us, and incidentally are people I'm personally close to, they have sworn by all they hold dear. Both of them have said, look, we'll stand with this party to the end. In fact, some have said we'll be the last. Even if you guys leave, we will be here. You know, for example, yesterday, Governor Bala said the same thing. He said, look, I've sacrificed for this party. I'm willing to stand with this party. I appreciate what this party has done for me. The people of Bauchi appreciate what this party has done for them as a people. Governor Seyi Makinde usually says, look, I have drunk from this well. I will not allow this well to be polluted because I know that people coming behind me will drink from it. And he says, look, if people ahead of me had polluted the well, I will have no well to drink from. And therefore, if I've become governor of your state on this platform, I can assure that I will do everything humanly possible, to get that going.
I guess we're going to leave it here at this point and watch how events unfold in the coming days.
Don't just watch with optimism. You need to show some optimism. Because like I told you yesterday, the duty of the opposition is to align with the media, to provide credible criticism to the government in power.
We will be on this side watching all the same.
So you need
PDP National
to help you make
of the Turaki faction in Obonga. Thanks for.
But I'll send you the judgment of the Court of Appeal.
I would like to.
There is absolutely nowhere where it mentions caretaker, let alone reaffirming. It is, there is the judgment, there is the commentary on the judgment. Okay. So it is the commentary on the judgment which people have been trying to. But with both sides agreeing for peace, I'm sure that there will be de-escalation of the weaponization of falsehood, which has been happening on
We'll be watching.
So there's no caretaker there. The only thing there is that people who were suspended, their suspensions have been upheld by that judgment.
I'll be watching on this, as I say. Once again, thank you very much.
Thank you very much
for joining the program.
Thank you.
We'll be back in just a moment. Don't go away.
The issues as they break, the multitude, the political figures, the state and non-state actors.
There is a serious threat to democracy, and our government seem to be incapable of protecting
the scheming.
This is not a period we should say bow and go.
Every part of this country is equal.
The intrigue.
There can be no one person that is bigger than the party.
Deft moves and the momentous declaration.
We didn't get any protection.
I'm not particularly against anybody.
We track and capture them all.
I don't believe in godfatherism in politics.
Follow in-depth analysis and no-holds-barred interviews.
Armed forces of the country is well capable. They need the political will.
Are they just waking up from sleep? Is there complacency?
Feel the pulse of happenings in the political arena on AIT Democracy Today. Widely acclaimed authority on politics. Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. Nigerian time. The stories now break online. Don't miss anything from our real-time updates and exclusive content. Follow and participate in discussions on live TV studio programs to shape the narratives. Subscribe, engage, and share from AIT.live at AIT_online on X, AIT Online on Facebook, Official AIT Live on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads, AIT_live, and AIT Livestream 1 on YouTube. Stay connected with AIT. On air, online, on live. Focus Nigeria. It's a huge task, but we take it on.
I think that is the law.
National Assembly is not doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria. It is America that is doing hearing on insecurity in Nigeria.
Monday to Friday on Focus Nigeria, we identify the nagging issues.
Some people put people in poverty deliberately, deliberate misplacement of priorities, and brought people on their knees to suffer.
We seek answers to the tough challenges.
And because of
For
this
the former
defection,
president,
yes.
what I know is that he has not turned his membership card. He has not been attending your meeting.
Leave that to us to deal with.
There's no shying away from the
The
issues.
system is held accountable. The leaders are accountable for the funds, for the resources that they manage.
No sitting on the fence.
The same thing that made you live where you are may confront you.
Focus Nigeria, 10 a.m., Monday to Friday on AIT.
Thank you for staying with us. As of March 2026, Nigeria's ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, has concluded a series of ward, local government and state congresses aimed at consolidating its leadership ahead of the 2027 general elections. It was a push for internal stability and unity through consensus as a prelude to national convention later in the month. Now, one major focus of the current cycle is the electronic membership registration and revalidation drive. In some states, while the congresses were hitch-free, some states equally witnessed serious rancor and legal disputations. In the aftermath of the congresses, there were internal warnings against ceding too much party structure to state governors, with some members appealing to the National Working Committee to maintain balance of power. The APC has continued to see high-profile defections from the opposition the opposition party, the PDP, such as Governor Dauda Lawal of Zamfara State, Senator Jarigbe of Cross River North, Senator Ipalibo Banigo of Rivers West, Senator Onyesho Allwell from Rivers East, and Senator Barry Mpigi Rivers Southeast. It's about Rivers State this time around. Anyway, it further expands its majority in the state. On the program tonight, on this segment rather, I'll take a look at the echoes from the congresses, this second segment of the program. Right here in the studio, I'm being joined by a chieftain of the ruling APC from Cross River State. I'm talking about Cletus Obon. Many thanks for joining us on the program tonight.
Thanks for having me.
It's been quite a while. Where have you been?
I've been in the trenches in preparation for this, dealing with Cross River North, Cross River Central, and Cross River South.
You in the trenches? You don't look like... Anyway, let me just leave it at that. The congresses of your party that held across the state, while some states had it smoothly, some other states didn't quite see, smooth processes. We had rancor somewhere in the north, I think in Zamfara, then in Benue State, and then some other places like that. I think in Ondo State, someone even died. And, what is your assessment of the congresses that held so far?
Well, I will say on the score of 1 to 10, we'll score 9 over 10. The reason is quite easy. It's quite explicable, quite self-explanatory, that in all the states, and if I use Cross River as a fulcrum, you will agree with me that half of what we have is on account of the nature of the leadership in the party in that state. That is what determined it. And states in which there was stability and dominance, they were little rancor. But where there were recent defections, in the case of governors,
yes,
there was. And then there were also teething crisis of leadership in places like Benue. In places like Ondo, it was a case, again, of bad blood that has been sitting and swelling and snowballing from the beginning of Governor Ayedetiwa's ascendancy into the office of governor in that state, in Ondo. In the case of Delta, the governor just came in, and you know how strong that can be. And in the case of places like Cross River, when people like Agom Jarigbe, the senator from Cross River North, came in, he has a high pedigree, and because of that, you will expect that he will be disrespectful and come with an ego. But he's a cool-headed young man who came on board and agreed that he will work with the governor. And so it was easy to sail through in such places. And then, of course, coming from a senatorial district that also had the former governor, Ben Ayade, you will agree that clearly there was a balance of power in those areas. So there will be mutual respectability on both sides. So in the case of Cross River North, you will find that. In the case of Cross River Central, there is a dominance of the party. And then we'll go to other states.
Let's still stay with Cross River.
Yes.
Talk about the balance of power. It may be all smooth and, you know, curvy, or cozy rather, on the surface, but you see, there are teething concerns underneath at the grassroots level, for instance, because look at it. Many people from the PDP especially decamp into the party, and they are giving recognition in terms of positions and what have you. You know what I'm trying to talk about. Now, those who are, you know, sort of foundation members of the party will definitely be aggrieved. That is some of the issues that were raised in some places. And I'm sure that Cross River, your place, had these issues as well. Had that been taken care of?
A very fundamental question. It is all over the country. I can tell you that. I'm a member, I chair the former ACN State Chairman's Forum. Across, so what that means is that I am in touch with the 36 states and FCT.
Okay.
All the former chairmen of ACN, that is the legacy parties.
Yes.
ABGA, New PDP, CPC, and others who came to aggregate to form the APC in 2013 and 2014 to bring us to what we knew in 2015. So what you have raised is a very fundamental question to which I have elsewhere in other platforms made the point very clearly that that matter has to be addressed. You can smooth talk yourself and force down the throats of people, your party officers, and smooth talk yourself into forcing down the throat of members about the candidates, because I insist, the quality of party officials is equal to the quality of candidates that you're going to field in the election. So if your executive in the party at the ward, local government, and state are so that are malleable to one end and to one tendency in the party, there is the tendency also that you are going to produce the same quality of candidates for the election. You can force them to accept your candidate. You cannot force them to vote. Exactly. That is what you must take care of.
Because that's where the decision is taken.
That is the banana peel that is waiting for those who think they can impose. Luckily for us in Cross River State, like I said, everybody has worked. We've had, for example, I keep referring to Cross River North because that's our boiling point, where a governor contested and lost an election to the present incumbent in the Senate after 2 tenures. What that means for us, that's a testing ground. And we lost all the elections in the National Assembly in that senatorial district on that election on account of Jarigbe and others. Senator Ayade, who himself was a senator and became governor from the Senate, was contesting that same election. We are going back to that same banana peel. Now, With Jarigbe moving into APC, what that means is that one person, the die is cast, one person must go down and go to the other. And with the present Electoral Act, you can't contest primaries here and go to the next party.
That's already taken care of.
So having done that, what that means is that Cross River North is going to be about what? A referendum about what have you done before. None of them is new to the system. That is to say that you've been House of Reps member, you've been senator, what is your pedigree? And you have been senator, you've been governor. What is your pedigree? What do you have to show for us? So in the case of Cross River, the governor of Cross River State has managed the matter so far that he's shocked. Everybody was shocked at the choice of the state chairman we have today, a 2-time federal House member, a lawyer, a political scientist, a tested intellectual, Sunday Soneta, who is sitting today as chairman of. So you are going to tell him nothing. Whether you are going to be you are a senator or you are a governor, you can tell him very little, because if it's his governance, he has it at the fingertips. So he has the pedigree to take Cross River to where it is. So we are focusing on Cross River North so that it doesn't become our albatross. Okay. As we speak today, Cross River Central and South are relatively peaceful and quiet. Okay. But Cross River North is going to be the real battleground, in which we have to balance the power there in a manner that everybody has something to take home. So between Ayade and Agom Jarigbe, we need to now look at their scorecard and take them by the pedigree. And we in the center and the south must not leave the north. It is the smallest senatorial district with 5 local governments. Okay. The smallest number of local, wards, 54. Unlike 66 in the central and over 70 in the south. So of the 3 senatorial districts, they are the only ones with 2 federal House members. The other 2 have 3 members in the federal House and 1 senator each. So that is going to be the battleground. And I believe that as we go to the next phase of elections and as we get involved between Jarigbe and Ayade, between the governor, Prince Otu, who has shown extreme leadership quality by making us go through the congresses so far, so smoothly. He now needs to make sure that we sit at the National Executive Council of the party. As we sit today, Cross River and Akwa Ibom are the only ones that are not in the National Working Committee of the party. Cross River State and Akwa Ibom have no member.
What does that mean for you?
The implication for us is that we are not at the table where zoning is going to take place in the next national convention. So the governor is the only one who will sit at the next meeting at the leadership level. There is nobody he has in the party. Even the Senate President has nobody to sit in the National Working Committee. Only he and the governor of Cross River. So they have a duty to get back there. So that is where we are.
Let's come back to the congresses. A similar, a similar scenario is what, is playing out in Benue State and, what happened during the congresses as well. For instance, the state party chairman and the governor are not at par. Because the governor is not, there were 2 congresses, as a matter of fact, and the governor and the APC chairman in the state are not, in very good terms. Similar to the issue I mentioned in talking about defecting into the party. Now, new entrants into the party as against the foundational members who have been there before, they are now at some sort of loggerheads because of, sharing formula, appointments, positions, and what have you.
Rather than
does it not worry your party at the national level that Benue State may also be heading for, well, the rocks?
I have had to discuss this matter of Benue State. It's a very simple issue to handle. Both men, the governor, a Reverend Father, and the Secretary to Government of the Federation, SGF, Akume, former governor, as well, and senator. So experience is on his side. Fatherly nature is on his side. The governor, a younger brother, a priest of the Catholic Church, and he a Catholic, and we're in the Lenten period. Forgiveness is what we preach. Abstinence is what we preach. Prayer is what we preach. And charity. 3 cardinal principles of the Lent. Charity, prayers, and abstinence, fasting. Now, if the 2 of them cannot within this season, thank God it's coming within this period, they should be able to handle that. If they don't, what we are going to get in Benue is that 2 dogs will fight and a stranger will pick the bones. That is what will happen to us in Benue. But I'm so confident that the SGF knows better than that. He has produced this about the 3rd governor he's producing in that state. And he has shown that he is a classic example of what it takes
when you said 3rd governor, you had Suswam, you had Otom,
and
now the
priest.
One.
Yes.
Okay.
This is the 3rd governor he's producing. So I'm familiar because he's my neighbor.
Absolutely, that's
He's my neighbor from Cross River State, and not just Cross River, from Cross River North, Obudu, Goja, Boki,
very close
we market and do everything and business together. Between Vandikia, Ihong, and Boko, if you go to their schools, there's 70% of their students are from Cross River, so we know ourselves well.
I can relate because I attended school in Benue State.
Oh, so you can now understand that.
That's right.
Between Makodi and Obudu and Ogoja,
it's not that
you
far.
are dealing with Cross River. It's 2 hours.
Yes.
It's easier to get to Makodi in 2 hours than to get to Calabar, the state capital, from Ogoja and Obudu. Where the Boki people and the Obudu Obanliko, about 9 local governments, it's easier for them to access Abuja, not even Makodi, than to access Calabar. The reason is because of the distance, and that is why you see the agitation for Okuja State. But let me tell you that the familiarity we have with them is that our politics is almost vegetating within the same vegetation. And what is the reason? It is that our people are naturally a forgiving people, a cordial people, a brotherly people who believe in themselves and brotherhood. So it is not difficult for me to say to you that Benue State will resolve its crisis. But going back to the issue of new members overrunning old members, it is a grudge which foundation members, we call them legacy members, are constantly bearing. And what can solve it is simple. As you are doing the congresses, make it clear. Don't pretend that we are all one and we started the same.
Just like in Delta State.
You cannot leave the Catholic Church as a priest or leave Assemblies of God or become as overseer of dunamis and come to Catholic Church and say you are going to be a bishop. Just because you are an overseer there. So that you were this in PDP or in ABGA does not mean that when you come to, you automatically jump to the high table. You don't jump the queues like that because those who are sitting there are definitely going to kick. And this is where we are. And that's where our problem is. So I believe that our governors and the leaders of each state must ensure that there is a deliberate, conscious, and intentional move to ensure that legacy members are given a space to operate. Otherwise, you are going to have an implosion. But that implosion will come from...
But look at it. Governors of PDP who decamped to your party have been declared leaders of the party in the various states. Look at Delta. Look at... well, let's finish with Delta first. The leaders of the party in Delta State who were there before the governor decamped to the party, they are no longer, definitely peace is unsettled, no matter how subtle it is.
Let me give you...
You have former governor Ifeanyi Okowa, former governor...
This is the point I want to make to you. Please, let me say this. I'm very familiar with this issue, especially in the Niger Delta and elsewhere. The problem is this. You are a leader does not make you the supreme leader. What that means is that you are sitting on the saddle. Please manage this thing for us. It does not make you in any way superior. You are a messenger. If your father comes from the market with a goat or a chicken and says, go and be giving it food, does it become your own?
Are you sure they are seeing it that way? They have all the arsenal of the party in their hands.
Those who don't see it so have always fallen into the banana peel. Every person who they proclaim you are a leader. Imagine that an Eno in Akwa Ibom State is told that as governor you are the leader of... In fact, it was even the senior president that told him that you are the leader. Will he then start going about blindly and start bulldozing his way into places and doing things he's not supposed to do because the senior president pronounced him leader? Will Sheriff in Delta State be telling Okowa, telling Ibori, James Ibori, telling Omar Agege, former deputy senior president, telling him that he's his leader because they told him you are the leader, hold this for us because you are the dispensing table. Does that make him leader? It is for you to be wise enough to know that there are limitations to the leadership that you have. That consultation, that wisdom dictates that you are only a caretaker. That does not make you a landlord because people who are sitting here who formed all these structures that you are coming to meet. Once anybody misses that step, what you are getting into is suicide, political harakiri. You will definitely commit suicide because you are going to get into that trap which you have set for yourself. So those who think that you are called governor and therefore you are the leader and you have become supreme leader, it's a huge political error that you may never survive.
You talked about the pedigree of those who have experience, especially in Cross River State, but now we're not talking about just Cross River State, all across the country now. You know, those who have pedigree, they've been leaders, they've been senators, they've been House of Reps members, they've been governor, and now they have the pedigree which will be what to count for them in the next election. Is it possible that going forward, you know, young people especially who are already in government will now begin to, be more concerned about their pedigree, about their integrity, about what they can achieve for the people, not just for themselves, or not just to amass wealth for themselves. And when people can vote for them because of who they are, really, not because of the party supremacy and the popularity of the party.
I'll give you practical examples. Because you have to start from the known to the unknown. And that is why when I say Cross River, it is not because I'm limited to Cross River. I'll extend to Kano. Okay. I'll extend to Benue. Even the Akume, the SGF, whom we are talking about, it was his pedigree that made him governor. In the case of Ayade, for example, he started a food bank as a private citizen. That's what made him a senator.
Not when he was in government.
Never in government. Jarigbe today, as we speak, almost every ward, you can point to a borehole. You can point to a school that is being renovated.
You know what, Cletus, unfortunately,
then if you go to the center, you get that.
Our time is completely up. I am going to have to invite you one more time to discuss, issues relating to this. But many thanks indeed, APC Chieftain from Cross River State, Cletus Obon, for joining the program tonight.
Thanks for having me, and God bless Nigeria.
Absolutely. Of course, this is the end of our show today. Don't forget, you can follow us on all social media handles. And you can find me on all social media handles as well. I'll be waiting right there for more discussions and questioning. I'll be waiting right there. I'll see you again tomorrow. I am Enemaku Ojochebe. Bye for now.
Daddy, this is how people dress nowadays.
This is not new. It was usually people that don't have parents that dress like that.
Ma, do you know that yesterday, notorious armed robbers were in this estate?